All right, so I've got some great bios for these two, but I'm not going to read them. Mike has awesome hair, and has been in the business longer than he wants to admit, and he's a really sharp dude.
I just don't look as old as Jack, but I'm old too.
He's a cool dude and is a smart dude too. Katie is not a dude. For those that didn't notice, Katie is not a dude. She's awesome though and brilliant, and really that's all you need to know because.
Generally about half
We have
I'm
awesome
still
ability
she
to
fall
cheer.
apart. Yes, if you're back where she is,
So you
that's
want me
better.
back here?
Now, if you want to be in front, sorry,
And
that's okay.
Okay.
But just wherever you are, I'm gonna go get one if you're that far apart.
Because of these sides, we're kind of soft launch. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the lady and the gentleman.
All right. So I hope you guys can hear me in the back. You guys in the back hear me okay? All right, good, because she's got the microphone, so I have to yell.
You will yell progressively more if you
I would have yelled anyway,
Yeah.
so
So,
not having a mic just means that I have to yell rather than that I get to. So this all started when we were on Paul.com. What was that? January?
I don't know, it's fun.
It was a while ago. I don't know. I was drinking. You know, that's sort of the point. So I don't remember what it was, and we got invited to come here. I'm actually not really supposed to be doing anything other than standing up here because someone told me that I was allowed to show up just as arm candy,
Who's
which
listening to that? Anyone? You right? Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's awesome down over there. Yeah.
I was in Paul's basement through that series.
So yeah, we have Mike is my arm candy.
Yeah. So sorry, I heard something from over there. So yeah, that's how we ended up here, and we came up with a really kind of weird topic because what we normally talk about is security awareness and all this kind of boring stuff. And on Paul.com, we ended up talking mostly about social engineering, and that's what we decided to make today about. I've been doing social engineering engagements for as long as Jack said I've been around, which I'm not going to admit to. Yeah, since there were modems and war dialers. And Katie is formally trained and now does social engineering engagements with us, but she actually knows all the actual science, whereas I'm just the like nerdy, pen tester guy. So we were talking about what we wanted to talk about, and we realized that one of the things that gets short shrift in the social engineering community is culture. And culture is something that we spend a lot of time on in our day jobs for Mad Security, doing cultural assessments around security awareness. But we don't talk enough about the cultural impact of how it will affect social engineering engagements and how it affects hacking in general. And I wanted to start out with does this work? Not.
Do you have plugged in?
I can use the
Did
space
you turn it
bar.
on and back off again? Oh, wait a second.
There we go. What's awesome is it doesn't go backwards.
Oh, it's okay, you don't need to go back.
Apparently I don't. Apparently I need to use the back button to go forwards and nothing to go backwards. Great. So I wanted to start off, and the title of this came from a story that is apocryphal about Coca-Cola and its impact on culture. When Coke went into China, it is long rumored, and this only sort of happened, but it's an instructive story. When Coke went into China, they started to translate the name Coca-Cola into Chinese. And unfortunately for Coke, when they translated the name, the actual words Coca-Cola mean Bite the Wax Tadpole, which is where the name of this talk came from. And I don't know about you, but I would walk into a store and buy something in a bottle called Bite the Wax Tadpole. And actually, what's really interesting about the story is you read about it on Snopes, or the actual story. Coke spent a lot of time taking all the arcane variants of the word of the sounds in Chinese to find a phrase that actually translated in some way that makes any sort of sense at all. And we have to take that same amount of time and effort when we're talking about approaching organizations either as an attacker or even, to Jack's points earlier, even when you're just speaking, you have to understand the culture. I was making jokes to Katie, who obviously that's your thing. I was making jokes to Katie yesterday about coming to this talk, because I'm talking in DC on Tuesday to a bunch of government people. So I have full suit, tie, the whole thing. I was making jokes about showing up here in full suit, tie, and the whole thing today. And how ridiculous that would have seemed. Or dressing like this when I go talk to the government on Tuesday.
So, oh no, so I just want to do the next example because it was the one I knew. So if you think that the Bite the Wax Tadpole was coming, does anyone know what happened when they originally translated Got Milk into Spanish? No? It's pretty awesome. So everyone seemed to love it here. There's usually how women, some sort of athlete standing there with a milk mustache. You just feel great about it. And for some reason, there's a whole bunch of women that spoke Spanish that were offended. They translated it into "Are you lactating?" That's exactly what it went to. So it gets back to you have to know your culture. So we've got a new thing here. Oh, it's my turn. Never mind. So another thing that can you click on it? Another thing is we've done some stuff, videos and whatnot. I'm going to show you a video.
Signal, I don't know.
I'm going to show you a video.
Yeah, no, we're fine. I'm
that
just
we've
going to
done.
click
So you kind of just go ahead and
Let me
click
know.
on it, and just to kind of change behavior. Let's bring it up.
Technology on this little portable USB drive, so convenient. You brought in pictures of your lucky to show your new coworkers, even though you know unapproved drives are reliable. See, you assumed that the only thing on your USB was pictures of Lucky. What you didn't know was your delightful teenage son was downloading MP3s from a website in the former Soviet Union onto that insecure little device of yours. Or at least he thought they were MP3s. Turns out there's something else on your thumb drive, Bob. A little something our IT folks call a Trojan horse. You unleashed a malicious program that allowed some maniac in Azerbaijan to access our servers, our financials, our customer information. We are in a world of hurt, Bob. A world of hurt. Do you understand me, Bob? You kind of fucked us, Bob.
So, the only way I'm showing this, besides the fact that I just
Who's going to take care of your thing now, Bob?
I like this video, and I like showing it just because, I don't know, I like having, so I used to teach in undergrad, and I rarely ever got to show things in which people swore to a classroom of people. So whenever I have the opportunity, I try. But the point of this, though, is to move on to the next slide.
Yeah, use the back button.
Let's see, back, forward, oh, go back again. Okay, so these different cultures here, that video, I have to look up this video already. So we, if I had this video and I went to these different cultures, which ones do you think it would fly with? Anyone? Like, who could I show this to? We could show, just disperse it around the entire culture. Google, Twitter, possibly BSides. Yeah, Morgan Stanley? What about the Navy? Coast Guard? Yeah, remember that? Wells Fargo. Exactly. There's differences in culture. As a matter of fact, we made that video originally for a government contract, and I had to tell, even though all the people we worked with liked it, they were like, okay, so when we disperse this, can I have the fucked one? But we need to make it a different one for when we give it to you. Okay? So they have the crazy one, and they love to show it to people. But as far as what they ended up dispersing, it was this really PC version of it. Because there's differences in culture. This, my arm candy is messing with technology. I have to go to the next slide.
I got it.
So there we go. So this gets to this concept of culture. And what is it? And I mean, a lot of us feel into this idea of PC and being sensitive to culture and, you know, what we call people. For example, I have a whole bunch of friends that work with, that do research with individuals with severe disabilities. So if you ever say retarded around them, it doesn't go across well. The most recent term we have is intellectually disabled. I was corrected like 4 times the other night. Because this is and our big thing is you have to be sensitive to culture, Katie. They're not retarded, they're intellectually disabled.
Continue.
So strangely enough, this concept of culture permeates so much of what we do, especially as a social engineer. If you're not sensitive to culture, it's not going to work. If you can kind of like so my story of wanting to wear a suit, I actually decided to as much as I could veto it, because he didn't want us to wear a suit. He wanted to stand up here and speak to you as if you were government officials, and then change like his clothes. And I was like, well, I feel like they're just going to leave when you start doing that. So you probably shouldn't do that. And I have to stand up there with you. So let's not do it. It's this concept of even in a talk, understanding culture. Like normally I wouldn't be able to steal Jack's hat and wear it. Because people are like, what are you wearing that hat for? But this is a different culture, which means it would be different talk, which means that it's all about assessing your culture. So let's talk about some of the things that are involved. Do you have a little quickie thing? So let's talk about some of the things that are involved in culture. That's basically what we talked about today. We went on Paul.com, we were going to talk about random stuff, security awareness sucks kind of thing, and they're like, tell me about how the psychological things that help you social engineer. So that's basically what we're going to go over. Oh, okay. And we're spacing your mic.
But first,
But first,
can you tell we haven't done this talk? We literally wrote this talk for this. We don't have our timing orders, but the thing about social engineering.
I actually have a question. How many of you actually could tell that was the case? Go ahead and raise your hand. That we were amateur. One person. Now they all know.
Exactly. He just didn't put his hand up.
That's
So the problem with talking about social engineering to a bunch of security people is that we all think that it's not. And I talk a lot over the years about social engineering, and I always get oh yeah, it's only a goal. Or, especially when you go to the more senior security people. How many of you guys are CISSPs? Okay. Especially when I'm talking to you guys. They go, well, dude, we got security awareness training. We're good on social engineering. And we do security awareness training for a living. And I'll tell you, it does not make you good on social engineering, I promise. And
wait, those of us that fell for it and got a CISSP have proven
yes,
we're susceptible to social engineering.
We win social engineering. Exactly. And so why is that? And I always like to start talks on social engineering talking about why that's the problem. Because we think it's possible to fix our gullibility. And I really don't believe that it is. I think when we're talking about doing social engineering engagement or even attempting to do security awareness, we have to realize that this is not a patchable vulnerability. I'm on, and I think Katie is as well, on SANS's security awareness mailing list that Lance runs. And there's been this whole thread lately about, let's create a hardening guide for the human being. Guess what? There is no hardening guide, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, because you have to realize that this vulnerability is in unpatchable firmware. And to understand why, you have to go all the way back. Like not 1985, all the way back like to your, great to the power of N, Uncle Grog, roaming the African savannah, to realize why we have to be vulnerable to this. So here's Grog.
Who is it really? Yeah! Good job, team.
We always tell the relative age of an audience when people get the Captain Caveman reference.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Jack. That was, you were like 25 when I came out. This is the whole day picking on Jack's age. Sorry, man.
I'll tell you what I always tell Paul. You'll be old someday too, if you're lucky.
If you understand what you're talking about.
Yes,
great.
If he keeps fighting with me like he does, not even
Yeah.
So Grog, walking around the African savannah many hundreds of thousands of years ago. And if you think about it, if you look at us, Grog's got a tough life. Grog's got a crappy life, in fact. Because Grog's not necessarily particularly suited to survive in his environment. Grog's not necessarily particularly strong. He runs up against one of these guys, yeah, that happens. Grog doesn't run very fast. Grog doesn't climb trees particularly. In fact, Grog's got a real problem. Anybody know what Grog ate as the staple protein of his diet? Antelope. Kudzu, actually, but antelope for all intents and purposes. And here's the problem. Here's my assertion, and not just because I'm at roadside, B-sides Rhode Island, I always make this same reference. I think I can confidently make the assertion that people in this room are in the top 0.00001% of the smartest human beings who've ever lived. And you all might not believe that necessarily, walking around, seeing people not know how to tie their shoes, and, the way people drive most of the time. But if you think about it, with your high school education, you probably know more about the way the universe actually works than every human being who was ever alive before even conservatively 1700. And I would bet you that if I dropped any of you on the African savannah today and said, catch me an antelope for dinner. Right. Not a hope. But we're all here. So Grog must have been able to. He must have figured it out. But fundamentally, we are really just quite... Where did the slides go? We are just quite unsuited to be here. From a physiological perspective. And yet we are. And if you look at the history of human beings, there's one thing that we really do better than any other species. And that pattern should tell you exactly why Grog survived. Grog survived because of the pattern in that last three pictures. What was it? We work in groups really well. We cooperate as part of our fundamental nature. And if you don't believe me, I give you Jack Daniel as my precise example. Sorry, Jack, I'm picking on you today. You're here, you dressed well, you did a great opening talk. But fundamentally, if you think about it from a strictly Darwinian nature sort of perspective, Jack's really quite unfit to survive today. I know it's not nice, but it's true. It's true. Because if you think about it.
If I had to distill my own bourbon, I'd be...
Oh, yes, exactly. Jack walked in here, sat down, and he sat and listened to me for however 5 minutes I've been rambling, not paying one whit of attention to the entire room of homicidal maniacs that he has had his back to ever since he walked in the room. Any one of you could have slowly walked down the stairs and slit Jack's throat without him even considering it. Now,
Okay, so
hang on.
I didn't know what he was going to say.
That's okay. Let me ask you a question. If there were 3 chained lions, totally chained up, really strong chains, would he have heard a word I said? Probably not. He was looking over his shoulder at the lions the whole time. But because there's a bunch of homicidal humans, he trusts you. He trusts you all not to kill him. It's part of the social contract. It's part of what our culture bakes into us. And it's part of trusting each other fundamentally at a level we don't trust other species. We don't trust things outside this room. If there were aliens in this room, Jack would trust you guys more than he trusts the aliens. There's no, reptilian people here. But the point being, so when I say it's unpatchable to talk about human trust, it is. It's fundamental, it's baked in at a hardware level that we trust each other on some level more than we trust other people. And when you start talking about culture, it gets even more fundamental because we bake in so many rules within the culture that make us more vulnerable to each other.
So, with this concept of trust and it being right or whatever it might be, the other thing is that I don't know if necessarily Jack trusts Toby not to tell him. I think he trusted at least Mike to let him know if something was happening. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would trust him. Anyway, so with this concept of culture, how do we use that? What are the things that you use to socially engineer culture? What are the main things? We have trust. Well, that's going to go one at a time. We have trust. We have physical appearance. We have helping. We have authority. And we have emotions. These are your top 5. Get ready. It's kind of fun. Okay, so first one, trust. So Mike explained that we get along and we have this concept of trust that we have to instill, otherwise, you even see it in times today. People that have some sort of inkling to not trust others will say they're paranoid. We've given them a diagnosable disorder, and if it's bad enough, we put them alone in a room. That's how that works, because we expect people to trust each other, at least a little bit. There's things that you do to trust people more or less, but you still trust them. So we have this concept of in-group and out-group. This is one of the ways that we trust people more versus less. In-group. How many of you would consider yourself somebody in that top left group? Okay, I didn't think so. I'm glad I did it. What about this one? This little cheerleader group? Yay! I knew it was there for you. What about this one? Derby girls. Okay, I like that one. So this is the thing though. For some of you, these are all out groups. For some of you, at least one of them, for Jack, he has an in-group here. These ladies over again, I believe. And what happens here is there's this concept of in-group versus out-group. Your in-group are the people that you associate with, you find close to yourself, it could be your friends, and besides, you might all actually consider yourself a part of the in-group. Everybody here is an in-group. They understand you. They're like you have similar concepts. Your group of best friends is usually a very close-knit in-group. And then you have the out-group, which is everybody else. Everyone outside of this group, or outside of B-sides. Everyone? Sometimes it's East Coast versus West Coast. I was watching the last speaker, and he would say a few things, and it was really funny, because I'm like, I can hear your accent. That's so funny, you guys don't do that here. And I was like, oh no, that's me, I do that differently here. I'm the out-group, how fantastic. But the thing about this in-group and out-group is it changes our aspect of trust. One thing about your out-group is, when you have your in-group, I'm sure you can probably look around and think, okay, my friends, we're all uniquely different. You can see a picture of yourself later and you're like, wow, we dress the same, we said the same stuff, and we like the same things. A friend of mine has 4 friends that he's had forever. I see pictures of them, they literally look the same. It's really weird. And they did all these like backwards things. It's just so odd. So anyway, but they see themselves as individuals. Same thing with this. Out-group though, we see everybody as the same. Your out-group. Hence the reason we have stereotypes, like different races. You all look the same. Because they're part of your out-group. Same thing with this derby picture. It's small, so, bear with me, but some of you probably just see a whole, same people here. Same people. Because I have to do this is somebody called the jammer. And then this person over here, you can barely see this, that's the pivot. This person is a particular blocker. They're going around, I can point out all these things because I know all these things. I consider it my in-group. I'm like, no, those ladies are completely different from each other. These girls probably think they're all unique. Yeah, very unique. But that's the thing though, is that's part of how you socially engineer. Is you don't walk in and go, for example, I'm not going to try to social engineer this group dressed like that. Well, hey ladies, let's roller skate. They're going to notice me, they're not going to trust me, they're going to question everything I do, and there's a very small chance I'm going to be able to get past them. What you do, whether it be phishing emails, whether it be actually physically social engineering something, you present yourself as part of the in-group, if you need to. If it's something where they are so easily close-knit, you walk in and you go, hey guys, this is how Jack does this. Is Jack dresses up in a very similar outfit and has a similar level of enthusiasm? I love it. And that's how it works. You present yourself as part of the in-group, because if you walk in acting like you want to, just, this is who I am, deal with it, can I get inside? It doesn't work. So this is part of the in-group versus out-group. Did you have some? I'm curious, so Mike is my font of information. While I may be able to do this and have the science behind it, Mike has some of the stories, so I periodically be like, do you remember? No?
I'm old, I don't remember most of the time. So
yeah,
she has to
Yeah, I hang out old man rivers, so, which means that I have to be like, no? Okay, we're good. So the next thing we have here is social engineering and physical appearance. This is a big thing when it comes to social engineering. Would you raise your hand if you actually think it'd be a big deal with social engineering? So, okay, good, it's on the slides. Good job, guys. So why is that? One of them is this concept of blend in or stand out. So I'm going to tell you, guess what, you guys are going to know way too much about my hair. Get ready. So when I got my hair done, I had to tell her, I was like, oh, I don't know if you can tell, I have the sides of shave on both sides because I'm a badass. And when I told her, I was like, I'm going to do that, but I need to be able to make it look conservative if possible. Which means that if I go like this, I can hide the sides. That's enough. Why is that? Because unfortunately, I have to blend in. I have to be able to go to a government agency, walk around and be like, hi, I represent you to your people. If I walked in like this, got this, nice, and I got the puff up here, got the shaved sides, walking, I got tattoos of flair, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it, government, save some lives. Like, they're just gonna be like, no. You're not talking to our people. I mean, I've even done it outside of the government. We had an engagement up in Canada, where Maple Leaf is from, and we went on site, and I had to find the most, I covered my arms, you didn't see the side tattoo, my hair was down the whole time, because I walked on site, they believed everything I said in the first place, and I'm like, I'm going to go represent your people, and they're like, this is how you must talk. We don't have difficulties, we have challenges. I'm like, oh my.
And opportunities.
And opportunities for improvement. So this is, I know, it was so awesome. It was so awesome. Anyway, but this is this concept of blending in or standing out. In the social engagement, sometimes it's good to stand out. If everyone just kind of walks in and all this good stuff, but there's a high level of control over who walks in and out, the reason they blend in is because we already know everybody fits, you might have to stand out. You might have to look important and exciting. If you're walking up to, say, the secretary and you need to get through her to get to a specific room, if you're just blending in, she knows who has to go in and out of that room. So you're like, oh, you just look like everyone else. And I know you don't have to be here. In this particular situation, it might be that only people that are special get to go in there. So you get to walk up, and that's when I would bring Mike, and he would get all dressed up in a suit, and he would talk loudly, as he usually does, and he'd walk up, feeling very important, and then just say, I have to get in there, and act like it doesn't matter. But he's extremely important, and almost scare her into letting him through, because he has to stand out. If I just walk up and I'm like, hey guys, I'm just going to go in that room, she just stop me, like immediately. So this is concept of blending in or standing out. Old man Rivers remembers something.
So, you guys are all from somewhere around here. How many people here work in insurance? A couple? I only know that because I spent a little more than a year at an insurance company in the Northeast, up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And it was a really interesting experiment in this. And I spent the entire year experimenting with blending in and standing out around physical appearance because it was awkwardly uncomfortable the way they all dressed. Literally, everyone in the organization who was not an executive dressed exactly the same way every day. It was khaki pants of some sort, brown or black shoes, and a blue shirt of some varying color. You know, the really adventurous guy wore the dark blue shirt. So, I would play around with this. I started learning about a lot of this stuff back then, and I started playing with it. And what I found was that because the executives would dress different, they would usually wear suits. If I wanted to be treated as an outlier, if I wanted to be treated as not part of the room and as a leader, special, I would vary my dress. I would dress more like the executives. Or I would just do something like this. I would wear the same khaki pants, but I'd wear this shirt instead of something blue. Just to stand out from the room. Now, if I was going to go to a meeting, if I knew I had a meeting that day where it was going to be really contentious, and I was going to say something that pissed somebody off, because I tend to do that, I wore the uniform to a T. Why? Because if I'm going to be contentious with my words, I want to blend in with everything else so that they feel comfortable listening to my contentious words. Whereas if I want to be seen as a leader while I'm not saying anything, I'm going to stand out slightly from the room while maintaining agreement other ways. And I spent the whole year playing with that set of combinations. How do I get, how far can I go? There were days when I would, and I found out some of this the hard way. I would dress a little too far to the stand out way, and somebody would go, What are you wearing?
Yeah, cross-dressing is bad.
I told you that story in confidence.
Don't trust me.
Right, there's that trust thing. It's not even part of my in-group. But you get the idea. It's fun to play with, but when you're on a social engineering engagement specifically, one of my favorite stories of all time was breaking into a major hedge fund. They all have a very similar culture within that one hedge fund, and they all went to either Harvard, Princeton, or Yale, and they all came from the same backgrounds, and they all had very similar ways of dressing, acting, interacting. And picking out an outsider from physical appearance was really easy if you did it wrong.
So one thing I'm saying I was good. I say this in that concept, like Mike pointed out with the story, in that there's times where you need to blend in, there's times where you need to stand out. Don't hate me, anyone that's female. Part of the huge feminist faction movement was about blending in. That whole idea of women wear pantsuits and they have the shirt, they basically dress in suits. For a while, you didn't have form-fitting suits either because you didn't want to look like a woman. You wanted to look like a dude with the dudes so that you could be with the dudes. And it's all of a sudden now that it doesn't have to happen that way anymore, and it's of course women can be in the workforce. Now we're actually going to the complete opposite end, in which case they're I'm going to stand out so that you notice me, so that I get accolades for being a female in the workforce. It's strange. I was lectured on this recently. So it was great fun. But this is this concept of blending or standing out. It's all about social engineering your situation and figuring out what are you supposed to do. How do you do that? The next one is individualist versus collectivist cultures. And while this is usually applied to a more national thing, like America is individualistic, as pointed out by Dennis Rodman, this is why everyone hates America, because they think this is what we do all the time. And the collectivist cultures being more of Asian, Indian kind of cultures, nations, this still applies in every situation you're in. This is a group, just trust me on this one, of individuals. Y'all didn't show up in the same clothes. You don't say, hey guys, I'm going to come up here and talk about everything that you already know about. I'm not going to talk about anything particularly exciting. If I would have come up and not, the reason that the hat works so well is because if he just stands up there and he's I'm going to be in khakis and a nice little shirt here, and look just like you. It's not as impressive. You guys aren't impressed by this. You're going to be slightly more impressed. Same thing happens within your culture. Back to our Jack's in-group. These girls, if you look different, the whole point of their culture, even their in-group, is to look the same. Physical appearance-wise as well. That's why there are weight restrictions, there's height restrictions, there's boob size restrictions, which most people are very happy about. And then we have hair restrictions. Nobody can look like a dude. Hair needs to be long. It's because you cannot stand out. They're a collectivist culture. So permeating that culture is not going to be about being an individual. Can't do it. You get kicked out. As a matter of fact, I feel like there's movies about Mean Girls and stuff where they stood out and they just get hammered down. So same thing, but you also have cultures where it's good to be an individual. So in Dennis Rodman's case, let's just say that Dennis Rodman was a product of his culture and not just a product of mental illness. And he's in basketball. And the way they make money is not just to shoot hoops and whatnot, it's for endorsements. They need to be an individual. They need to be awesome, they need to be cool, they need to be noticed. Because with them, if people love you, comes advertising. So Dennis Rodman married himself. Do you remember that? Yeah, so I'm getting married, and then he came out looking horrible. In a wedding dress, he thought it was so funny. And he got so much press for it. He socially engineered it. He's yeah, I'm going to be an individual because that's what this thing calls for. That's how I'm going to get famous. If I blend in, it doesn't work. There's a whole bunch of people that blend in. And they still are basketball players, but they can only go so far. So this is another thing, is figuring out, are you an individualistic or a collectivist culture? Back to we were up in Canada, and I had to socially engineer the situation to make sure that I could actually get people to talk to me. And they're a collectivist culture. You don't stand out there. I couldn't walk in and be like, hey, your bosses think this is shit. How about you? They'd be like, I don't know what just happened. I think they would cry. So that's pretty much how that went down, is I had to figure out what the collectivist mind view was, fit right into it, which is why I had to do things like, I couldn't say no, I had to be like, let's think about the consequences.
I got a story.
But give me 1 second, how much longer do
Yeah,
you can go on call.
I can. This is a short one, I promise. I learned.
That's what she said.
Thank you. No, you have no idea. You have no idea how perfect that actually was. So I learned about this when I started to own my own company. Because when we're talking about culture, you know, we're talking about going into an organization that has a culture, but our own organizations have a culture too. And as I started to interview people and as I hired my first few people, I found that I have a particular bent of individualist culture that I'm happy with, you know, and that I want within my organization. It fits really well in security because, as Katie said, most of us are individualists. Most of us are not too afraid of, you know, telling the boss that the idea is stupid if the idea is really stupid.
Even if it's not stupid.
It's not stupid.
Oh my god.
And I hired a whole bunch of people, and I realized suddenly, as I was the owner of the company, nobody ever said no to me. People stopped saying no. And that's really hard for me. I want people around me like her, that will go, that will feel free to make a "that's what she said" joke when I'm about to talk, even though I'm in charge. No, I'm the boss. Finding people, even within this individualistic culture, who can be that individualistic is hard. And I've had to become very aware as a manager and as a company owner and as an interviewer and all of those things of what impact the people around me have on the culture and how to create a culture that allows for that kind of freedom within the organization. And it's a very difficult thing to do.
On that note, it's kind of funny because even so, Michael standing up and being in charge of that, and they're like, nobody says no to him. It's funny because even though I'm one of his direct reports, I have people say no to me all the time. Not because I am not the owner, and this is not a gender card. It just really is how it is. It's a lot easier to tell a girl that's 5'4", not particularly strong, that's not the owner of the company and is not a dude. I think they're stupid. I think you're stupid, and I have to pay your paycheck, so do it anyway. But it happens though. What it really is more to the point, and it also compounds the fact that I am more in the social science psychology area than the, well, what have you had lately, area, in that I have to prove myself at first with a lot of my employees. In that I have to figure out, do you like me? And if it's a proving thing, sometimes I have to be a hard ass at first. In which case, everything they challenge me on, unless they're actually valid, I'd be like, no, do it anyway. I mean, there's been times where I've been so like gung-ho about it that I'm like, as I say, I'm like, this is the wrong decision, but damn it, they will listen after. It's fine. Like I'm like, hey guys, this isn't going to be the best thing, but we just go with it, okay? And there's times though where I have to pull him in on it. There's times where they know him as the authority figure, and in order to get my way, so again, it's all a concept of social engineering, I have to essentially, I mean, virtually, stand next to him and go, you want to piss me off? And they're like, oh no, wait, you're not. Because they think that there's times where I'll be like, do it, and they're like, Michael, Katie said, and I'm like,
It actually happened yesterday.
it happened yesterday, I almost killed her. For like the second time. But unfortunately, I needed to do something. Being a prima donna. Anyway, so this is this concept of individualistic concept culture and understanding what happens. And yes, nobody says no to Mike. It's really funny. Because they can kind of work with it a little bit. But, you know, it's kind of figuring out the culture. The next thing is social engineering and helping. This is really where most people think, as far as I've come to understand, the social engineering side of it is. We don't like helping. We suck at it. We really suck at it. Does anyone know about Kati Rodzon? I feel like I talked about it on the call.
Only 2 people saw that one, so it doesn't
Doesn't
really matter.
matter.
You can tell me
Okay,
again.
so Kati Rodzon is a really, really old story. And this is when psychologists decided to really investigate helping. So what happened is this one woman, she was killed in the streets of New York. It took hours. And the reason it took hours is because this guy came over and started stabbing her. She yelled for help. People put their heads out the window. He left. Came back. Stabbed her some more. People put their heads out the window. He left. Came back. And did this a couple of times. Over several hours he killed her. People knew about it. They said they even had people tell you what happened afterwards. Nobody helped. And of course, as a part of the in-group, we don't want to say, man, we are shitty people. We go, no, there must be a reason for this. Figure it out. What it is, it's called diffusion of responsibility. They've done so many studies on this where you have different types of people needing help, dropping stuff, falling, laying on the ground. And if you can't read this, what it says is you have 4 people standing by this person on the floor, and he says, really doesn't need my help. He'll be okay. I'm sure somebody else will handle it. I guess he's drunk. It's just diffusion of responsibility. It's what happens. If it's just, here it is. Don't worry. You'll just go by. This is, another thing with this is, for example, if you have to get through, I don't know what's happening.
It's okay.
So if you have to get through security, some of the reasons that you can be like, okay, well, yeah, I can get through that, it's completely fine, is because you saw, people go through all the time, there's really nobody around there. If the alarm goes off, nobody pays attention. It's kind of like when a car alarm goes off. How many of you hear a car alarm and go, where is he? Let's figure it out. There's crime in sight. Let's call the police. Most people are like, oh, that is so loud. And you just walk away. It's not fun. It's a diffusion of responsibility. That's how you can get through some situations where you're like, nobody's paying attention. That alarm can go off all at once. Nobody's gonna do a damn thing. Just look like I blend in. That's what it is. But then, did you have it? Okay. But then, how do we fix that and using that to our advantage? Because strangely enough, we can actually get people to help as well. And it's the reason that Uncle Sam here works so well. If he would have just been standing there and been like, we want you, it wouldn't have worked so well. What is Uncle Sam doing to make it so effective? Pointing at you. They've made it to where it looks like he's looking at you and he's pointing at you. And that's how you diffuse responsibility. Is what you do is if you're sitting there, you're getting hurt, what they ended up finding out is if you go, you call the ambulance. You cannot say somebody else will do it. It's like, oh no, I don't really want to call the ambulance. But he can't, because if I die, I told him something to do, now it's his fault, and now is he going to live with himself? So that's how you do this, is because I suddenly made the responsibility on you. If I go over this awesome gentleman here, it's going to be his fault, because he's been pointed out earlier by people to say, make sure she's on time. In which case, we're like, dude, she went over like 45 minutes, and he's like, your fault. So that's the thing, you suddenly have this sense of what you're going to do. So that's how we do this. That's how we get through a door. You're holding a box. Why does that work? You're holding a box. You're walking through, the way you can shoulder surf off that. So, hey, can you hold the door for me? If you go, no, fuck you. It doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work at all. Because you look like an ass. Like, even if you don't know them, you feel bad. There's something about the cooperation that Mike was talking about earlier that makes you feel bad. If somebody's just standing there, if you're just standing there as a bad social engineer by a door going, no, somebody needs the door for me? Nobody's going to damn door for you because you're not pointing it out. If you eye contact works too. It could just be a matter of like, I'm holding a box and I'm looking at you and you're like, damn it. Which is why you walk around like the city of New York or anywhere else and you put your head down. You're like, I don't see him. They cannot ask me for anything. Just sit down. It's the same thing. That's how you socially engineer that situation where you're meant to help. So you feed off of that and you go, you help me. Or you go, nobody's going to do anything because they're just going to diffuse that responsibility. Like I said, if a woman can get murdered over hours and people can see it and y'all just think it's going to happen, pretty sure an alarm can go off and we'll be just fine. But this brings up the next thing, authority and social engineering. That situation that I talked about, where I just mentioned, where you can just walk through with nobody noticing. If there's a security guard there, it's going to be a lot less likely. Not completely unlikely. We've got engagements where there's a desk right there. Like I literally have to walk by could high-five the security guard as I set off the alarm, and they just go, and I'm like, okay. It's pretty funny how easy it is to, when you figure out how easy it is to socially engineer a company when you're not even supposed to do it. I was at the same authority thing. You had to sign in, people had to escort you around. Got there, my escort wasn't there, I signed it in, this guy comes down the stairs, there's a security guard there, and he goes, do you need an escort? Yeah. So then he brings me to like 4 steps and goes, okay, where are you going? I'm like, over there, I just pointed in some arbitrary direction, and I proceeded to roam around the escort-only area for like an hour. And then I found myself in an office, and I sat down, and I got my Wi-Fi, and then the guy that was supposed to find me goes, what, how long have you been here? Like an hour? How the fuck did you get back here? And I was like, somebody just kind of let me in. I kind of roamed around for a little bit. And you're like, oh my god. So in which case, that might have been a good selling point. But this is one of those situations where authority, when it works and when it doesn't, you can use it or you cannot use it. When authority works, that's the other thing about this is that we respond well to authority. There's a study in which case there's a 4-way stop, and they wanted to see how many people just kind of rolled through the stop. So somebody stood there with a clipboard, and then all of a sudden they realized, oh shit, what if people think we're writing it down? Like, what if they stop more? Well, how do we make them stop more? How do we make them stop less? So they have psychologists love to screw with everybody. It's great. Which is why, like, the shocking experiment, authority as well. We just wanted to see how far we could get you to go to kill somebody. It worked. It's weird. Anyway, so what you have here is with authority, it's 4-way stop. All of a sudden they had somebody hide and track it. Then they had somebody stand here and track it. Then they had somebody put a lab coat. Everybody stopped. Lab coat with the thing that they have to be doing it. Everyone made like one of those like stop, press on the brakes, let's go. And you're just like, oh crap. So authority works amazingly enough. Same thing, part of the reason why Mike could stand in a room. He can put on I wear running clothes constantly. I love them. But I didn't wear them today because it wouldn't have been a sign of authority and I'm supposed to be talking. Mike loves to wear suits for some reason. And when I'm walking around town with him and he's just finished to talk and I'm in running clothes, nobody pays attention to me because Mike is the authority figure. They're gonna open doors for him. They're gonna let him do whatever he wants. He looks like he belongs. You don't want to piss off the boss. That's when it works. You need somebody to change something when nobody else around you can really trump your authority. When it doesn't work is when you try to walk up to the security guard and bully him with authority. You gotta pull a big card there. You have to show that their authority cannot override theirs, or they can be overmined. They can trump theirs, whatever it was. So that's when it doesn't work. But this is actually relatively easy. It depends on, you need to know how much authority has been given to the security guard. Do they have a gun, or do they just have a flashlight? In which case, we could have somebody, the other thing is, who is the boss in the building? In Mike's previous example of everyone wearing a suit, if he walks in a suit, does he look like their boss? Suddenly, holy crap, you think I can fire you. Great, let's use that. That kind of thing. I cannot bully people, unfortunately, people with authority, because I have my best suit on. I can look really sharp and exciting and walk up. I can even have some heels on, give myself a few inches. I still can't break 5'6", and I'm still a girl, relatively small, and I'm like, listen to me guys, I'm gonna do this. And they're like, let's see what you do about that. Sucks. Really bad. Even at work, it doesn't work. Like, hey guys, listen to me.
So the thing.
You're less than 10 minutes.
I know. The thing that we lose in the word authority is the vernacular for authority isn't necessarily what Katie's necessarily talking about. Authority comes in a lot of forms, and authority can be signaled in a lot of ways. The fact that we're standing at the front of the room right now imbues us with what's that? It imbues us with authority just by standing up here. We could be the two dumbest people in the room by a large margin, but because we're at the front of the room, you guys have all granted us a certain amount of authority for knowing this topic. The same as, to Katie's point, walking around an industrial factory or an industrial organization or an oil company, With a clipboard, the clipboard enough is will keep people from questioning you. Because just that clipboard says so much about the authority you have to be there. And it doesn't mean you're in charge. It doesn't mean you can boss people around, but it gives you legitimacy. And so the props that you use, the ways that you stand, the way that you dress, all of those things can imbue you with an appropriate type of authority that allow you to be successful within the engagement.
I mean, it's actually, you can even do something called basking in reflective glory or basking in the reflective authority of others. I bask in this reflective authority all the time. I just don't really boss people around. In which case I go, I know Mike. But I even did this as a small child. My grandparents owned McMillan and Harris gun company, and they had a factory. And I was a small child. You're not supposed to hang out in there. Strangely enough, I got all the way through that place. Because I was like, that's one guys. And they're like, oh crap, I can't really think you're mad. Don't make her cry, because that's the boss's granddaughter. Shit. What do I do? And they just watched me walk through, and it's like, sparks flying. I just happened to know somebody there, and he goes, Katie, let's go. And he picked up, and he knew me. So he could challenge me, because I knew he was a level of authority. So yeah, it is this kind of, you can even bask in other people's authority. I had absolutely no authority over those people, which my grandfather did. So then, we'll get to the last one. Emotions and social engineering. It's very exciting, right? I hesitate putting this one up there, trying to figure out a different for emotion because it's reminding me to think, like, let's get in a circle, let's talk about emotions, how we feel. No, I hate that. So, but the fact remains is nobody walks up to somebody, so let's say we're social engineering a specific person. You don't walk up and act like an ass, because positive emotions get you what you want. Mainly for one reason. So we have the most photogenic guy in the world. He was running like a marathon. How many of you ran a marathon? More than 2 miles.
More than 2?
Yeah, more than 2.
Yeah, marathon.
Yeah.
Dozens.
Right. So this guy, I hate this guy, because he ran 26 miles and again he's smiling. Me at the end of a freaking marathon, I'm like, fuck you, get my face. They want to give me they think, yeah, whatever. We can talk about it later. So anyway, I'm happy-go-lucky here. He likes taking, you're going to ask him for a favor. Look at him. You're going to walk up and ask him for $5? I would. Would you ask her for $5? No, I wouldn't ask her to move. Like, I would clearly let her go, I'm just going to get out of your way. She looks pissed. So, but the reason that this is when you walk up to people and you say things like, okay, I'm in a socially engineered situation. If, let's say we're talking about the secretary at Morgan Stanley. She might be a little stuffy. Let's say she's one of those stuffy, like, I am been here forever. You don't know me. That kind of person. You're not going to walk up and immediately ask her for a favor. You're going to butter her up. You're going to feel like what's going on. Oh, I see you have kids. You get her a little happier. Bring her up a little bit. Because she's more likely to do a favor and she's more likely to take a risk on you and trust you. You get her up just a tad so that you can go, hey, trust me, I just got to go talk to the Bob in HR. And she goes, okay, go for it. If you just walk up, she's pissed, and you go, hey, can I? No. Well, great. The other thing.
So I have a favorite sales guy. When the first sales guy I ever worked with, he's great. He was this weird Scottish guy, and he was the best in the world at that scenario. If, lots of salespeople, every salesperson I've ever met, if somebody's nice to them, they can effectively get a sale. This guy was at his best when he would call a pissed off secretary and she would hang up on him. Because he had this Scottish voice, and the next time he called, he would start singing to her. And then when she finally talked to him, his first question was, dark or light? Right, exactly. What? Hook the interest. Chocolate. And 2 days later, a box of either dark or light chocolate would show up on her desk. And within the next 2 calls, she was his best friend.
Yeah, I mean, you have a different tactic for doing it. It's great, but it's this concept of getting them there. This is a problem because when I taught undergrads, even now with employees, I have some of them. For example, I used to work with Joseph Sicoli and Sparkles. So the problem is that Joseph could ask me for anything. I would fight him like tooth and nail on something I knew Joseph did horribly, but I was like, no, I will defend him.
Sparkles.
Sparkles. I adore this man because he's intentionally buttered me up. We're friends, and he gets me in a positive set of emotion. I'm more likely to take a risk with my boss, and I'm way more likely to do him a favor. The guy that pissed me off yesterday went around me. I don't care if he wants a fucking Kleenex. I'm not giving it to him right now. Ever. So irritated at that man. I'm not taking any sort of risk. He says, I don't like it. Yeah, me neither. Fire him. Anyway, so this is this concept with social engineering. You gotta get people in a positive place. So as much as we don't like emotions, have it happen. So overall, what you end up having here is you have trust. In-group versus out-group. You need to be part of their in-group if that's what you're trying to do, if you're trying to penetrate that in-group. You have appearance you have to pay attention to. What else did I say? Emotions, authority. I guess, what about the other one?
I don't know.
Yeah, so you gotta do all those things. But these are all, I mean, even though there's other things that you can talk about, in general, that's the overall 5 things that you need to know to socially engineer a situation. You take care of the majority of those, and you're gonna get at somebody. So, yeah, any questions?
I have a question for Mike here. You said when you were working at that company in New Hampshire there,
Yeah.
that at one time you were doing a lot of experimenting, and you went to this meeting and you tried to dress down like one of the normal people there,
Yeah.
to try to fit in if you were going to propose a particularly contentious idea. According to one of your tenets here, authority, why wouldn't you want to do the exact opposite and dress like an authority figure to present an idea?
Because
So
going
it makes
against
sense.
authority.
Because I don't have it. Because they all knew who I was. They all knew what my actual position was. They all knew what my role was. So me attempting to, be a senior architect and usurp the actual formal authority of the vice president and CTO, not going to work. But if I unconsciously adopt some of those things, take some of their speech patterns, take some of the ways that they communicate, in terms of the types of topics they talk about, things like that, then I can steal some of their authority without actually attempting to look like I'm trying to dress like a boss.
I mean,
Go
and
ahead.
the other thing about it is that gets back to the when it works and when it doesn't. I can't, if everyone's at equal standing and I do something to make it look like I'm a little bit higher, I've just taken some authority and put it on myself. I can do that. He can't stand up in front of everybody that has authority over him and try to challenge them by saying, I have the same amount of authority as you do. Because they're like, no, you don't. So he has to blend in and so that he doesn't go, yeah, so it's a matter of evaluating how much authority the challenger has. In this case,
Did that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, totally.
Any other questions?
Cool. We'll be around all day, guys, so hopefully we can figure something out.